Hello and welcome to the How to Exit podcast, where we introduce you to a world of small to medium business acquisitions and mergers. We interview business owners, industry leaders, authors, mentors, and other influencers with the sole intent to share with you what it looks like to buy or sell a business. Let's get rolling. Hello and welcome to the How to Exit podcast. Today we're here with Adam Lyons. Adam Lyons is an acquisition entrepreneur extraordinaire. This guy is a CEO of multiple companies, advisor to multitudes of other entrepreneurs, and an absolute rock star. I'm honored to have you on the show today, man. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Matt, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's not too many times I get on the show, and the guy in the background's got his 2 Comic Club awards and all the other stuff. And you've just been around and done a lot of stuff, and had a lot of accomplishments, helping a lot of people. I've taken some coaching and advising where you're, I got paid for one guru, but you're in the middle of this, helping us, coaching us, and having meetings. So I'm glad to have you here.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I realize you align yourself with the people that are actually where you want to be if you want to end up getting there. So. I've blessed the last 8 years of my life. I've spent around the right people, and it's got me to a position that I'm pretty proud of so far. And I'm nowhere near the end of my journey,
It's one of the reasons I do the show, man. I get to hang out with some really awesome freaking people. So, hey, let's just start off. How did you get into this space? I was reading your profile a little bit. I kind of got the background, but let's share it with the audience. Like, I always joke around. It's like, you were born, you ended up on my show. Could you fill in the gap in between?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I was a janitor, and that's pretty much how I got started in life. My dad was a janitor. His dad was the caretaker on a ship in the Navy. So like, that's kind of in England that you'd kind of do what your parents do unless you completely deviate. And at 26 years old, I was sitting at the janitorial desk and I was reading about dating, and I ended up becoming a dating coach. I ended up being actually one of the top dating coaches in the world. And I'm never going to forget the day that I got awarded #1 dating coach in the world at this event I went to in Hollywood. I couldn't pay my mortgage. And it's kind of shocking to be an expert at something and then realize you got no money. And meanwhile, there were all these guys that I knew were no good at dating that were making far more money than me because they were good at marketing. So I started learning marketing and following, the kind of people that learn from the kind of people that learn from the kind of people you probably want to learn from, like the ones I could afford. And I worked my way up, and eventually I find myself being equal to people I'd hired to teach me. And they said, I can't help you anymore. You need to go to the guy I learned from. His name's Roland Frazier. And so I signed up for anything Roland was teaching, thinking that anything's better than nothing. And it ended up being a course on acquisitions that I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to learn from this guy. So honestly, the first time I learned acquisitions, I had no interest in doing acquisitions. And then 3 months later, I found myself in a deal that I was trying to get regular leads. I was trying to negotiate where they would send me their leads. And they were in the middle of an acquisition. And instead, there was an opportunity to take ownership in the company. And because I'd gone through this weekend of training, I just, put myself out there and did it, and ended up with 50% of this company. And after that, I was like, man, I just gained access to 150,000 qualified leads. Not only do I have access to my own 50% of them, and I can keep 50% of the revenue. From there, I was hooked. That was better than buying ads. That was better than begging for leads and doing an affiliate thing. This was great. So I started acquiring companies. It didn't take long for me to realize that I liked doing that a lot more than I liked doing dating. So I still own my dating company, but it's one of 16 companies that I own. In the last 3 years, I have helped grow, scale, buy, sell 1,900 companies, either on behalf of myself or clients that have paid to learn from me or Roland or one of our associates, who I've then been brought on to help actually do the deal. And I've got to a point where I'm now addicted to wanting to see the guts of a company. And I'm more than happy to help so that I can see what goes on, because the more my knowledge increases, the better it is and easier it is for me to help other companies and my own. So I get to benefit from that. So yeah, that's what I do.
It's interesting. The only thing I have in the dating space is two things. When I got married, my wife's like, "You can throw these books away," because I actually had like Neil Strauss, I think it was his name, the book he had
Yeah.
on like on the pickup artists and stuff like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
"You don't understand. I didn't buy the books for that. I've never had a problem with that. I bought them because the human psychology it takes to attract another person is the same it takes to market. So just understanding what they were doing and how it played out and the psychology behind it was really intriguing to me. And I still have them around here somewhere. And the
So
wife's like, "You've
actually,
been married for 15 years."
they're on the shelf behind me. That's
Like the
just
wife's like, I thought I seen them. I was like, the wife's like, "You've been married for 15 years. You really don't need this." I was like, "No, you don't understand. Like, it's a marketing book. It's a little dark marketing book, depending on how you look at it, right? You know, but it's in the essence of anything, it's truly a marketing book. So
Well, actually, a lot of people don't realize that Frank Kern, who's regarded as one of the original experts when it comes to internet marketing, Frank Kern launched a program called Mass Control, where the case
yep,
study was on
yep.
Neil Strauss's workshop.
That's how I
And
found out
what
about it. Yep,
okay, which is fascinating because I was involved in that original deal from the dating side of it, because the guy that put the deal together between Frank and Neil was the guy that voted me number one in the world. That was the first time I was recognized while that was all going on. I was right there in the middle of it, and not the first time, because Eben Pagan, one of the
yep.
original founding people of internet marketing, was David D'Angelo, which was Double Your Dating. I could go on and on about how many marketers got their roots in dating and then moved into traditional dating. Another one's Ty Lopez, who started in dating.
Did
And
he
I
really?
knew through dating. Oh, yeah. Ty Lopez, he made his original millions from dating sites and then used that. I was actually in his house when he filmed that I'm in my garage video. I was upstairs. And that was my first acquisition, was half of a company that Ty was letting go.
So one of my biggest, I don't know if I want to say this on the podcast, one of the biggest losses I've ever taken in my life is I came out of my master's degree, my MBA, thinking I was hot shit, right? And I've got a master's degree in marketing. I'm going to do something with it. I'm going to do my own thing. And I had some money saved up and, through 401k stock options stuff from the .com world when I was in there. So I created an online dating service called honestyfirst.com. I got featured I was mentioned in a couple of articles, like in Wall Street. I mean, I was getting people talking about it because we were keeping people honest in their profile. And then I was out raising funds for my next round of marketing. I kept getting told by VCs that we really don't have a business. You have a software product. You probably should, take your patent. I had a pending patent and some other stuff. You should probably take that and license it to these other guys. And I just didn't listen. And I spent high six figures. Let's put it that way. Not quite seven figures, but high six figures trying to get this thing going. And unfortunately, was the most valuable lesson I ever learned is you can't sell or market something they don't want.
Yeah.
So I actually I can't say who, but I pitched two of the biggest online dating services out there, the software, after these VCs told me, and I was thinking about shutting it down anyway. It's a chicken and egg problem. I couldn't get enough people on. Nobody wants to be the first and only soul on a dating site, right? And I didn't have enough funds to kind of just mass market this thing like eHarmony. I was out doing rounds of funding when eHarmony just had got like $110 million, right?
Mhm.
And I wasn't asking for anywhere near that. And they're like, we're not going to fund you and have you go up against them. And the funny thing is, I pitched two of those big guys, and they're like, "Hey, look, we've already thought about this, and we surveyed our customers. Nobody wants to be kept honest in their profile." And I thought I'd solved a problem. I solved what I refer to as the Mr. Potato Head problem, right? You go out on a date and they kind of look like their profile, but some stuff's been mixed around and moved around and things are in the wrong place, right? So, but yeah, I learned an extremely valuable lesson in that is market fit. Knowing that's what I loved about this acquisition game. You're buying something that you can already see whether or not it has a market fit. You're not spending. I spent 2.5, 3 years. I had a whole team in India of programmers. I had people all around the world working for me, all remote. And before it was cool, this is like, I moved in Oklahoma. I moved in 2007. So this is prior to 2007, right? And I had remote, people all over the planet
Mhm.
helping me build this thing. And lesson learned is like, if you don't have a way to test market fit, they can get really expensive. And yeah, So
It's actually so funny you say that, because that is what I do now. My core company we own is the Smart Blueprint, and it's the blueprint that we developed for a company to identify the demand inside a company and whether we can create it after taking it over. So we'll often buy a company that isn't doing that great, knowing that because of the Smart Blueprint, we've already done a market fit analysis and know whether there is demand if it was repositioned. And we'll go in, reposition a company, and get all the profit.
I need to check that out, because one of the few info products I don't own, right? In my original, before we moved here, I actually always do these in my podcast, and I always point over to my left. There's a bookshelf I had there, and I was like, that bookshelf right there is about $185,000, and that's before Rollins and all these other courses. That was just my real estate stuff, right? But no, I'm gonna check that out, just because my idea right now is, I'm out there. I own a few businesses. I'm looking for acquisitions, but like I have my wife and some other people wanting to launch a particular product. So I'm gonna find a company in that genre, right? Buy it and make sure they have the fund to test that product out, because then you've got revenue, you've got an existing customer base. You offer it up, say, hey, who's interested in product X, Y, and Z? It looks like this, and if you don't get some pre-orders, you don't have to put the 6 months to a year developing it and reaching out. I love this industry. I love this space. So
that's literally what we do now. So we'll do that testing, and we know. So it's great because the company will come in at evaluation. Let's just say it comes in at I don't know, like 3 million, but we know that it's operating at 5% profit, but they haven't created an optimized offer and haven't had a new offer for 18 months. When this situation, we know we can go in, do a proper market research, what we call a customer insight report, analyze what the demand is, work out how it should be worded, reposition, and either identify a new product to be developed or sell something that already is there, higher profit, instant revenue. More often than not, we're capable of purchasing the company using the money generated from that new launch, which is insane to think about.
Insane, right? So are you currently in acquisition mode, or are you still
I was looking at a hotel this morning. It's a Hot Springs in Idaho, $7.5 million acquisition. I'm interested in it because it comes with water rights. It's got a spring, and I think water's really hot and will be over the next 10, 20 years. I like the location. Idaho's a great location. Idaho's the #1 state that people moved to in the last couple of years. I've got a lot of friends are in the area. So I have a lot of my properties, my commercial properties and everything in Texas. I like the idea of having something more north so that I can have snow if I ever want snow. I assume Idaho has snow. I don't know 100%, but feels like it does. As an English person, I don't really know anything about American geography. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this Hot Springs right now. They offered me 40%. Actually, they offered me 50%, and I declined and said I want 40%, but I want to work a bit less than they wanted me to. So yeah. I'm always in some kind of acquisition mode. I'm looking at a $30 million package deal of 2 hotels in Austin as well. And I'm in a weird hotel mode right now. I don't know if I'm gonna buy one, but I'm in it and I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So we get in those
yeah.
modes, don't we? I'm in a weird coffee mode. Like, I don't even drink coffee. To test it, I have a gag reflex to the flavor of coffee.
So
but
funny.
I love the smell of it, and I'm intrigued by the business. Like, the people who love coffee, they could actually be on their last. I just remember. I think it's because my dad, right? I grew up. My father had a hot cup of coffee in his hand, whether it was 110 degrees outside or whether it was freezing cold. Right? He drank straight black coffee, and he had his Folgers, right? But people are loyal to coffee. Once you get them as a customer and you're doing them right, if you don't make them sick or whatever, they're buying that coffee till the end until their last breath, right? So that's the intriguing part of it. But I end up in a lot of I never thought I'd own a pest control company, and one of my relatives begged me to take a look at it, and I told him no for 2 years. Right. And he calls me and said, hey, Mike, the guy I'm working for is retiring. I'd really like you to take a look at this. And I happened to had just taken an acquisition and mergers mini thing. Like, I was just like an intro type of conversation course, kind of like not as long, but something kind of like Roland does. It was like a 2-hour webinar. So I was intrigued by it. I started looking on Big Buy Sell, and some of these pest control companies were claiming 30 to 40% profit margin. It's like, there's no way in hell. So I started doing research to find out that, yeah, it's possible. So I was like, why am I telling this guy no? So I end up, that was my, I bought it. I still own it. I have partners in it. But, you know, I say I bought it. We bought the equipment and stuff. Turns out the guy running it, he just wasn't as compliant as he probably should have. So we didn't want his liability stuff. And I didn't know what I know now. So I bought something way too small. That's the other thing I did on that one. But yeah, you end up in industries like, how did I end up on this kick? But you know, if the business has merit, I don't think the product is necessarily like, you don't have to love the product. You just have to know it's a good business and it runs, right?
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think and I've consulted for a lot of people that I'm a bit different. I've got to a point where I make more than enough money that like I don't really need to work ever again. And so now I only do deals that I'm interested in. So I'm almost more driven by like, oh, hot springs and snow. Great, I'm in. Whereas, if there is something that generates money, I'm not as motivated. But again, and it's funny because I was talking to some of my friends about this the other day. I'm far more driven by happiness and joy than money at this point. But 5 years ago, absolutely, it was the exact opposite. It was like, if it makes money, I'm in. And I think it's just where you are in life.
It's funny is I have the exact opposite reaction to snow. As a matter of fact, we moved up into the redwood forest. I'm in the mountains over here, and my wife's like, we have a tiny home. We can move it anywhere we want to move it, right? So when we needed to come to California to help take care of family and be around family and just to be here, her family, I was like, we're going to have to move pretty soon because I don't want to be up in the mountains when it snows. So I started doing the research. The average snowfall here in the middle of the mountains is 0. Right.
Oh my gosh.
There's no snowfall. It's just a mild temperature year round. Everywhere else, like I leave Oklahoma, it's 110 every day. And here it's like 80, 89s are high. I think I've had one day since I've been here is in the 90s, but, it doesn't get that cold in the winter either. So I have the exact opposite. If I have to see snow, I expect to be in a hot tub with a glass of wine or a good stiff drink. So,
now that I agree with. Yeah, like I can do that, or like a warm tea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hot tea. Yeah,
tea's a thing. Yeah, I can do that.
I drink a lot of hot tea.
I love that.
Cool. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is I read an article that you put out on the acquisition aficionado magazine, and cool magazine, great article. You are an out of the box thinker, man, and that's what I love. That's why I like Jay Abraham and these guys. And I don't know if you remember who Jay Conrad Livingston was, the guerrilla marketing. I was one of his coaches for a while. Actually, I was a marketing coach for him.
That's
and
awesome.
So I love that low cost, high impact, out of the box thinking. Do different things, do things different. So let's chat a little bit about sourcing deals because, man, you have a different, way of coming up with things to work on.
All right, you want to hear what I'm actually doing? Because like what was in the article was like my suggestion for other people, not what I'm doing.
Okay.
So, all right, so in the article, it references a number of different outside of the box methods to acquire businesses. One of them it mentions is classic car shows. And the idea is the kind of person that buys a classic car is somebody who has already made money, is already successful, and often later on in life, we're not talking like 80, but 50, 60. And it's kind of the age you start thinking about retirement, making it an ideal position to go and acquire businesses. You bond over a love of classic cars, which gives you a mutual rapport and hobby, which, from dating. From that point, you identify what industry you're in. You mentioned that you're acquiring businesses. They mentioned they're thinking about selling and they're not sure what that looks like. You're experienced. You guide them through the process with no intention to buy it. Just, hey, this is what it would look like if you were going to sell, how to go about it, how to get a good value, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end, they say to you, well, what would it take for you to buy it off me? And there you are. You just got your deal. So it's a wonderful, wonderful system. So after seeing this happen a few times, like less than I could count on my hand. So we're not talking about a lot. But the way my brain works, like you said, I like optimizing things. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I literally got a text message 5 minutes before we went live. And you said to me, if there's something that's hot on your mind, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity to talk about this, but you gave it to me. So I have a problem. I like nice cars, and I've bought a few exotic cars. I typically buy Maseratis because I have children. And they think of the Maserati as like the family man's Ferrari because it's got 4 real seats and you can put your kids in it. The problem is a lot of my friends who make similar kind of money to me will buy the newest Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren every year. And I just don't like putting in effort for paperwork. It's so much effort to buy and sell a car. I can't do it. And I have ADHD. I'm going crazy. So I just didn't upgrade my car. I just kept the same car. And I think I upgraded it twice. Meanwhile, all my friends are like, oh, you still got that same old car you've had. And I also don't give in to peer pressure. So it didn't affect me. But then it occurred to me that this classic car thing is a great way to get in with businesses. And I do like classic cars. I actually prefer them to like brand new cars. So I start thinking, what is like the iconic classic car? And I come to the conclusion it's a Shelby Cobra.
Aha.
And they sell for like $1 million, a real one. And so I start really thinking outside the box of what I'm going to do. And I find the man who has the current licensing rights to make new Shelby Cobras.
Yeah.
Now, this guy or this company, it's a very small company, it's like 5 employees. They've got the current license, but they don't have manufacturing licensing, I suppose. So what that means is they can't mass produce cars, not allowed to. Nobody can, but they can make one-off custom, and they're real. Like it's the actual Shelby Cobra because they've got the license. They've had it for 31 years. But they make like 3 or 4 cars a year. It's very, very minimal. The cars are unique in that they go up in value, which is phenomenal.
Where's this guy at?
It's a great question. The company's based in South Africa, but they have an American office, a few. I think they've got like one in Florida and one in Detroit or something. I'm connected to. Oh yeah,
I was gonna say I'm related. I was related. My sister's ex-husband. This is Oklahoma. My sister's ex-husband brother. The Oklahoma thing is how we tell stories there. He had one of the license. He built the Shelby Cobras in his auto mechanic shop there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I asked him, well, he'd build 2 a year or 1 a year or something like that. So what do those things sell for? And he had 2 or 3 of them sitting out front. And he said, well, about $180,000 to $250,000 is what they actually sold for. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I watched the process. I'd stop by, like I'd see them up on the lift, and they'd have the frame, and then they'd put they built these from the ground up, and they're
authentic. The same company, because I'm looking, and they've got they have or had areas in Oklahoma. Where it gets interesting is they actually assemble them in different places because they don't have the manufacturing thing. So the unique thing is you can't actually buy a car. You have to buy a body, all the innards, and then you pay them to assemble it. And it has to be 3 transactions because they're not legally allowed to sell you a car. They're just allowed to assemble one. So it's very unique. And I don't fully understand it because that's not the industry that I'm in. I'm just enjoying the process because obviously I'm buying one. And the reason I'm buying one is I found that they made a one-off, very, very unique Shelby Cobra, a unique one. They made one that is a Tesla hybrid.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
So I've been watching all kinds of videos on that lady. People taking like really classic cars and turn them into Tesla hybrids.
Right. And so they did one with a real. So this is an actual Shelby Cobra with the license. The insides are a Tesla. Modern air conditioning, Apple AirPlay, and does 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, which is ridiculous. Well, so I contact them and I'm like, I want to buy that car. The one that's in all the YouTube videos, the car, I want that one. And like I said, I'm blessed enough that I've been successful. I can do that. And they say, no, we're not going to sell you the one we made, And they're like, there are other companies that have, knockoffs, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I want that one. So I get chatting to this. It's the vice president of the company I'm talking to. His name's Todd. And so I get chatting to Todd and we're like laughing and I'm, negotiating like this isn't about money. It's, and he says, well, listen, we've got spare parts that we bought at the same time in case we needed secondary parts. I'll build you a new one and you can have the sister to the original. And I was like, well, now we're talking. So it's been a 3-month process so far. I think we've got 5 months to go, like you said, because they got to put it together. They send me pictures of the body and everything. Like I've got the body and we're going through it. The whole thing is going to be a stupid amount of money and will probably end up being worth close to 7 figures, if not 7 figures, by the time the whole thing's done. And I'm over the moon. I'm super excited about it. But where this comes into the acquisition is the car's so unique that I have a publicist team, and I'm already prepping them on writing articles about the sister to the other car. And there's going to be enough differences. One of the big differences is mine will have a roof. It will be the convertible Shelby that they had. We've got the cloth roof and everything. So it will look different. And of course, mine will be a lot more modernized than that one, the insides and everything. Because I want my creature comforts. Because the whole point is I'm not going to buy a new car every year. I'm just going to keep this car forever. That's the plan. And it appreciates in value every year. So yeah, I'll always be able to sell it in the future if I want. I won't, but I'll be able to. And so the whole point is this is my acquisition thing. So when I go to a car show, it won't just be a car at the car show. It will be the car at the car show. Now, in order to pull that off, I would have to already know the people that run the car show. So a year ago, in preparation for this strategy, I found the guy that organizes all the car shows in Texas where I live. And I helped him out with about 2 or 3 different problems he had. And now he knows me by name. So I'm going to contact him and ask him what it's going to cost me to sponsor his car shows and show off my car at his events. Now, I suspect, based on all the favors I've done him, it won't cost me anything, and he'll be happy just to show off my car on the show on some kind of trailer that makes it look cool or what have you, that my publicity team can get behind. Now, this is a twofold plan. Part A is create enough of an interest around it that my media team can run that in magazines to show off a cool car, specifically to increase the value of the car, to guarantee that it goes up every year because it's so unique. In addition to generating interest from other people at the show that are likely to be prime targets for acquisition. So it's a twofold approach, but it shows what happens if you take a concept and really fulfill it. Because it's one thing to go to a car show. It's another to sponsor the car show and be the main car at the car show, to drive the conversation to you to acquire that which you want. I will literally be asked by the owners of the car show itself and the press, what do you do for a living? And I'm just going to respond, oh, I'm always looking for businesses to acquire.
I get it. It's the peacocking, right? The Neil Strauss peacocking, right? You're actually, is that what they called it? If I get the name right?
That's in the book. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. We it's funny, in Dayton, we never did that. We were always against that. But in business, yeah, do it.
You know, people see me all the time. They say, like, you wear kind of a uniform. I'm prior military, so I'm always got a black shirt on. I've always got tan pants on or black sweats if I'm running around here. I buy the same thing. I'm really boring in clothes. You ever see me go to a business networking or a high end event? I have my Robert, what they call it, Mondavi. I have my $300 shirt and alligator boots, and it's what I wear. I'm out, and I want people to come up and talk to me. And I have the ability to afford such things. I just don't find enjoyment in it. And in the same realm is like you shattered one of my myths. I always like people say, why don't you have high-end cars or whatever? And the joke is because I think they depreciate in value. I drive an old beat up farm truck that has 300,000 miles on it when I'm in Oklahoma. Here I got I bought a car. We're getting a car from one of the family members, so I didn't want to bring it, and we have an old Ford Focus. They're horrible investments in my world. But I love what you're doing with it, and the fact that now you're using it as a lead generation. So my other problem with having high-end cars is I have a tendency, I'm an adrenaline junkie by previous trade, raced motorcycles, fought full contact for a while before I blew my knees out and got fat. Had 6 knee surgery. I really like the adrenaline rush of things. So if I've got a car that says it goes 160 on the speedometer, I've got to see at least once, right? So
I love that, and I'm with you. I agree, and I it's funny you said it because I used to do martial arts as well. I still do. So I get it. But yeah, what I find fascinating is I live just down the road from the Austin F1 track.
Oh yeah,
and another part of my acquisition strategy, I'm going to ask them if they want to parade the car at the start of the F1 because it's silent. And it will be really unique to see a classic Shelby driving around a track with zero
Silent.
sound.
I seen two Teslas race on a YouTube video the other day, and they were racing, and it sounded like that wind up sound when they were going down. You could hear the stickiness of the road better than you could hear the engine as this thing went down on the videos. Like because they were on a drag strip race, and that was unique, right? I like watching this stuff, but no, the coolest thing I ever owned is this is years ago, and we're way off topic here, but I love this. So we'll tie it back in here in a minute. I actually. I was married once before I met my wife. Currently, we've been married for about 17 years, and we've been married for 15 and dating for 19. If she hears it, she'll correct me, so we got to get it straight. Anyway, before that, I had a Pathfinder I had on lease. I took it in to trade it in, and I was looking at the Corvettes that they had they had like the 50th anniversary or something. I forgot what year it was, but it was the anniversary Corvette, and it was about 65, 70K was all it was. So I called her up, and I told the wife at the time I was going to buy a truck. And I called her up and said, you know what? I'm not going to get a truck. I think I'm going to buy a convertible Corvette. Their anniversary series is out, and I've always wanted one. And she gave me the old line, if you buy that stupid thing, I'm leaving, whatever, we'll be divorced by the end of the month. So I got off there. Luckily for her, I test drove it, and I wasn't comfortable, and it's just some sports cars you're just really comfortable in. You kind of fit in, they drive, they respond. It felt like driving a freaking race car. It was real stiff, and I've driven, for adrenaline junkie stuff, I've driven race cars, I've raced motorcycles and dirt bikes mostly and stuff, but it just kind of had that feel to me. It just wasn't something I wanted to drive every day. It's something I'd want to go out and see how fast I could go in it. So I decided I wasn't going to get it, but because she said that, I had them custom build a truck. So I bought a big white 4x4 custom truck with a Corvette Vortec engine in it. There's a place in California that you can buy them off the showroom floor, and they'll go to the factory, and I don't know how they pull it off, but you can pretty much ask them to do anything you want to one. So I bought a truck that had that motor in it, that high ZR whatever it was motor in the time. 550, 600 horse at that time was impressive. Anyway, I paid almost 80K, about 78,000 for this truck. And I come home and it's lifted. I can't even get it in our garage because I lived in this high-end luxury apartment, and it had one of those things. I had to park this thing outside, right? And we ended up divorcing a couple months anyway. So unfortunately, at that time, I couldn't afford the truck and the alimony I had to pay her. So I ended up having to give them the truck back, which was cool because they loved it. They never came after me for any money or whatever because I'd given them like 20K down. Right? They ran that thing to auction and made a profit. I just called them up, said, look, I'm not going to pay this payment and my alimony at the same time and have a place to live here in California. But that's the coolest thing I ever had. I've had Harleys and some other stuff, but I have to see how fast things will go. But I love how you're taking something that you're passionate about, you like, and figuring out how do I make that make sense, So now I have to go get a custom chopper because I wanted another bike, and the wife's like, it just doesn't make sense. If I can make it a lead generation for my business, then it's a business expense.
Right. I mean, and if you think about it, the guys that ride those choppers, especially on the road trips, they tend to be older, successful business owners.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking to it's funny is when I'm in the acquisition mode, like doing big roll-ups, I trim this way up because people tease me and say you can't show up to an acquisition meeting looking like you should roll up on a Harley. I was like, look, I'd own a Harley if the wife wouldn't try to talk me out of it. So I've had a few in my life. I've actually rode from Virginia Beach to LA once, just because I could. So 8.5, 9 days, just rode from Virginia Beach to Redondo Beach.
It's crazy.
So let's jump back into the acquisitions and mergers. We're a little off track, but I just love that, the out of box thinking. What else out of the box can somebody do if they're looking for deals? We had a business networking thing, and the biggest question people had is, where do I start? What industry do I pick, or how do I figure out, what to buy? So, what is your thought process?
I think, if you're motivated like me and it's like, I want to own this, that's fine. But you tend to make less profit. They don't make as much. It has to be a passion thing. If you just want money, it usually makes sense to pick some kind of industry that is required. So like service-based industry, plumbing, electrician, something like that. And what's great is those kind of industries, the owners tend to be the tradespeople. They don't tend to understand the business. So they'll often be very happy to sell it on because they've got no plan. Once they quit, they retire. That's it. They shut down the business. The end. Some of them try to hand it over to people, but it doesn't tend to go well. You can have a lot of luck by, let's just say, for example, you find a plumber, they're in their 60s. They've got maybe an apprentice. The apprentice is quite new, not very good. And but they've got a bunch of customers that are in town. And you can find a smaller plumber who's newer. And you can say to them, look, I'm planning on acquiring this other company. Would you be down to merge? And, I'll give you, this company is like 3 times bigger than yours. So I'll give you 1/3 of the company. You'll do all the plumbing and I'll handle all the marketing. Now you got yourself a business partner. You can get them to pay 1/3 to get in. So that can be your deposit. You can do 2/3 on owner finance to pay out the bigger business over, say, 5 years. So they've still got revenue coming in. They take the deposit, which is 1/3 from the new plumber that's coming in with you. The new plumber's now got access to a business 3 times larger than them, but they don't know how to use it. You do the marketing, you fix customer service, bring in a receptionist, get it all growing. Maybe find some other small plumbing companies, consider a roll up, put a training system in to train up that apprentice, et cetera, et cetera. Now you got yourself something that, maybe in year 1, it's just paying back the original owner and you're not really making much, but 2, 3, 4, as you get growth, you got some real cash flow coming in. And after you stop paying out on the 5th year, or maybe you negotiate to close sooner, and before you know it, you now got a ton of money. So that's a great plan. The question is, how do you meet the plumber? Well, one easy way to do it is to just find your trade shows, right? There'll be a plumbing convention, there'll be an electrician's convention, and no one really wants to go to them. They're usually in like a little Sheraton hotel or something like that. So no one ever really wants to go, but you go along and they'll all be there, and they're not the exhibitors. They're the patrons. They're the ones walking around. And the way to do it is to actually become a panelist and be a speaker at the event. And the best thing to speak on is how to retire as a plumber and get paid for your business when you're the only employee. Because that's tough. And in your 60s, when that's you, that's what you're thinking about. You're like, well, how can I do this? And that's going to bring the right people in the room. Maybe there'll only be 20 people in the room. But, every other talk's got 200. Yours is tiny. But everyone in there is your target audience. You have eventually qualified for exactly what you're looking for. And now you can tell them the best way to do it would be to find somebody that's, willing to do it on payment over time, because you can't just leave tomorrow because the whole business shuts down. And you talk them through it.
Brilliant. I love the trade show thing. I had a real estate investment firm, and one of the ways we'd find houses is anytime of the in town, they had the home and garden shows every year. So people would go there to fix up their house, right? They'd walk around and meet landscapers and stuff. And, I'm a big old guy right now. I'm 5'10", 350 on a good day, right? So I blow my knees out and gained all this weight. But so I wear at least a 5X hoodie. So we made hoodies up for myself and my whole team that said, don't fix it, sell it. We buy houses. And we would just go to these trade shows and walk around and talk to the different vendors and stuff. And we'd get 2 or 3, 4 or 5 leads every time we went from people going, hey, I've got a house I'm trying to fix up. I might just sell it. How does this work? Right. And I got in trouble once because we made these big balloons, probably the size, I don't know how, like 5, 6 times the size of a basketball. Right, like a big balloons, and on the balloon, we filled them up full of helium that said, "Don't sell it, fix it." We buy balloons, buy houses. We tied it to the back of our hoodie, so when we're walking around this huge, 200 vendor trade show, there's these balloons above us that said, "This guy," and it had an arrow. One of them said, "This guy buys houses." Right, it had a little arrow pointing down and stuff. And the trade show said, "Yeah, you can't do that." They run us off. But that's the guerrilla marketing that what did it cost us? $35 a hoodie, $40 a hoodie, for each of us to have one made, maybe 50. And then the balloons, $10 a piece. I think it was cheap to actually have balloons printed on. We found them online somewhere, So for $250, I had 4 of us walking around trade shows, and we were getting deals like, landing houses and stuff. I don't think you have to do that. Maybe in the business buying realm, you might lose a little credibility if you try something cheesy. But I love your idea of just being the speaker of the show, right?
Thanks. Yeah, it works really, really well, from my perspective. And, It might be a bit cheesy, but I've seen people pull off cheesy as long as it isn't direct. I think you can go cheesy and indirect, or you can be serious and direct, right? So if I'm gonna be a panelist, I can say, hey, I help people sell their business when they effectively are worth zero, because if they quit, there is no business. On the other hand, you can walk around with a giant balloon that says, after 1,900 companies that I've advised for in the last 3 years, maybe too much on a balloon, but you get the idea. I'm looking to give free advice, and I'm an introvert that doesn't say hi. Come talk to me. Or maybe I'm an introvert that doesn't say hi. Come talk to me. No, but trust me, I'm really smart. I don't know.
I thought about doing it just like, who buys businesses, and have a little arrow that points down, says this guy, right? And just like then
I love it. I think I agree. I think for acquisition, it would have to be less direct. You'd have to make it like not about buying businesses. So yeah, like, I'm an introvert but really smart. Say hi and see what I know. I think that's where I would go. So people come up to go, oh, I love that idea. I'm like, yeah, I would never talk to anyone if I didn't have this. And it's easier to have a stupid balloon that I can't see that makes people come and talk to me. And this is because I am an introvert at heart. I come across extrovert, but I'm an introvert. And I think something like that would really work.
And it's funny is I end up knowing one of the guys that owned that trade show now, so that I didn't, because I'm friends with him, I never pulled those stunts after he took over. But we still wore our hoodies, but we didn't try the balloons or anything like that. Yes. So the other thing we used to do, I've raised money at crazy stuff like that. When we were raising money for our real estate investment group, we would go to the boat shows, and I'm talking Oklahoma has boat shows where they have 150-foot yachts at these things. I think they take them to Grand Lake, which is one of our biggest lakes, and they sit there and just spin circles, like they just turn the thing around and turn around. Because I don't know how, like these things are like, they're full blown multi-million-dollar yachts, and they're at the trade show. But we would go there, and we would dress up, and stuff like that. But we'd often have our hoodies that said, real estate investors seeking, or real estate, investors, seeking and other investors, or, something. I forgot what it said, but basically it said we're looking for money. Right. And, I have no business, you're walking through these guys and they're buying multi-million-dollar boats, and you're wearing a hoodie that says, put your money in real estate, talk to me. I think is what it said. And people go, hey, I've always thought about real estate. What do you know about real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I love the idea. You just give me an idea that I'm going to attempt as well. I'm speaking at the Traffic and Conversion Summit this year.
Oh yeah,
I'm on the main stage. Thanks. I'm super excited about it. I've been trying to speak. I mean, I was there on the first event, and so it's a big deal for me. I spoke last year, but just for 5 minutes. This year, they're giving me a whole hour. And so because of that, I've decided to get a trade booth. So I've got a massive booth, and I've been designing it. And I've got a whole bunch of ways to make it stand out. But it occurred to me, they might not be okay with me walking around with helium balloons, but they might let me attach them to the booth. So I'm just, I just made a note to tell my team, hey, see if we can attach giant helium balloons to the booth.
Now they have these helium balloons, just so you know, there's these really cool helium balloons that are remote controlled. So they're not on a string, and they're kind of like look this up, because you can have them printed on this stuff, and they'll hover in a certain spot, like I don't know if they have a GPS in them or something, or they'll fly a certain pattern. But you can have it, like, if it's moving, like our natural human instinct, and you'll get this from all the dating stuff you do. There's a lot of stuff that's just natural. Motion attracts eyes. It's a anti-predator thing that we have psychologically. I've seen one of your companies has to do with human psychology, right?
Yep.
So motion, I think if you could get it to move around, even if it's just like, it's like the dancing goofy guy, if you get something to move the balloon around and cause motion up there, people will just naturally have to look up and make sure it's not, a pterodactyl coming down to eat them. So
I love it. Yeah, that's a great freaking idea. Love that.
Cool. So, man, just there's so many things. We're at 40 something minutes. Let's make sure people know how to get a hold of you. What are you interested in? Why would somebody contact you if they've got something? What are you looking for in this world, man?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of a big fan of help others, and then reciprocity kicks in and kind of like kicks back. I actually wrote an entire huge blog post that breaks down like a lot of our methodology of once we acquire a business, how we grow it. If someone's listening to this and they want to grow their business or like make more money, it's free. You don't even have to opt in. You can just like go to it. If you're cool with it, I'll give my personal cell phone. You can text me, and I've got a mini automation when somebody texts me. It is me. It's not like some kind of weird short code number, but I put an automation on for the legality of data collection. So that's a pretty cool thing. But my phone number is 512-957-3141. That's the Austin area code. 512-957-3141. And you just send me a text message, just say hi, maybe let me know a little bit about yourself. If you actually just say hi, I won't know who you are. And then you'll go through the mini automation and just request the link. And I'm more than happy to send you this breakdown. It's how we do time management in a new company, how we hire, fire, how we work out whether the offer's there. And I'm more than happy to give that to people. I find in podcasts, it's a bit easier to have like a real personal connection because your phone number isn't like on the internet. It's like it's someone kind of has to watch 45 minutes, right, to get it. So
I can put it in the show notes if you want. I think you gave me a number, a 21470. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you gave me that number, and that's in the show notes right now. But I can switch it up and actually have my assistant put your other number in the show notes, whatever you want in there.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I'd appreciate it. So that's that. On like every social media site, I'm at the Adam Lyons, THE Adam Lyons. And then you can just go to thesmartblueprints.com. A whole bunch of free assets on there. Go get them. We do a website analysis. We'll analyze your website and let you know how your offer looks from our point of view, and how profitable we think you are, and take it from there.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate all this. What is if you could leave somebody with like one or two takeaways from the show, what would you say? I mean, what's the what would you want somebody to know about Adam Lyons and what he can provide for you? Or
I think the real thing that I specialize in is lifetime value, not calculating it but increasing it. There are really only two ways to make more money, and it's either sell something that you've already developed to a bunch of new customers, which seems to be how most people think it's done. But the smart companies, they focus on selling something brand new to people who trust them. And in the Forbes did an article, in the companies that offer upsells, something like 70 to 80% of all revenue comes from upsells. When you imagine there are so many companies out there that have a single product and they struggle, and if they only had a sequence of upsells, the revenue would go through the roof. In some of our highest markets, our lifetime value is in 30,000 plus and growing because of our method. And if I list to you the most successful companies in the world, they all have an upsell sequence from Amazon to Apple, Nintendo. We think of these big classic brands, Nike, that have been around a long time. They're constantly upselling you. McDonald's, do you want fries with that? Everything these companies do is about upsells. And yet, whenever I meet new entrepreneurs or even people doing acquisitions, they're so worried about what has happened in the company over the last 3 years. Whereas the only thing I want to know is, have you had a full upsell strategy? If not, do you have buyers that are happy and actively buying? Because if you've got a good buyer base who like the product, and you do not have optimized upsells and lifetime value, I know I can come in, run some customer insight reports, identify exactly what else they want to be sold, develop it, affiliate it, joint venture it, sell it to them, and the revenue goes through the roof because there's no acquisition cost. So that's the big thing. And if you think like that, you can do anything. And even the car I'm buying is on the same concept. I'm analyzing how much it's going to cost me. Like I said, not seven figures, but we're getting up there. If that gets me a business in a year, it was worth it. So the car's free.
Yeah. The I guess your acquisition cost or your customer acquisition cost is sunk into a single event. But what is it? What is the word I'm looking for? Not the reluctant hero or something, but you're the center of focus when you take that somewhere. That is like that's going to cause people to talk, cause people to ask questions. I love classic cars. I pull up beside somebody and they're driving an old convertible,
Right.
Something. I'm like, oh man, cool car. Did you build it yourself? Did you buy it? Like I'll chat with them, right? People with classic cars get chatted up. So and that's just going to happen. So.
That's the plan. And I know that with Maserati because people do come and stop me and talk to me about it. But as time goes by and the car gets older, less and less people do it. Whereas the classic car, It's got the classic body. That's the key.
Yeah. So awesome, man. I don't even know where to go from here. I'm having a blast. I'm looking at the clock going, man, we're running out of time. What would you say of your top 3 tips for actually having somebody grow their business? Right. I mean,
Yeah, actually, that's easy. We have, on average, at the moment, the last couple of years, 600,000 companies a year in America shut down, with an added 200,000 on top of that for COVID-related shutdowns, which is crazy. 800,000 businesses approximately in 2021 shut down in America. What's fascinating to me is there are 3 major reasons that account for the majority of all of those shutdowns. And when I stand in front of thousands of business owners and I say, tell me the reasons, they can't answer them. And I'm not surprised that you have a qualification in marketing because you listed the number 1 reason at the beginning of the show. Because to you, it's clear and obvious because you've studied it. But most business owners are what I call accidental business owners, myself included. Unless you've sat down and actually studied it, you don't know. And the 3 major things that will shut down your business in reverse order is number 3, you don't have the right team. Number 2, you don't have a cash flow system. That's not sales, it's a system. And lastly, there's no product demand for what you're selling, which is the biggest of all. When I go into a company, the 3 things I assess is 1, do they have a good team and are the team toxic or are they actually doing stuff? 2, do they have a system of cash flow that nets positive? 3, do people want what they're selling?
right.
And that's how I fix any business. That's how I've managed to help 1,900 companies. Because I have people all the time, how do you help 1,900 companies? So I start by sitting down and being like, there are 3 things here. Do you suffer from any of these problems? And if they say yes, I say, great. Within 5 years, you have a 50% chance of shutting down because that's the numbers. It's like 49.85% chance of shutting down within 5 years if one of those problems persists. You have to stop all 3.
When I was doing the marketing coaching thing, and one of the things that I was shocked to find is people really undervalue their own loyal customers, meaning that like I had a couple customers, clients of mine, and I was like, what do your customers think of you? Oh, they absolutely love us, man. No, they chat us up, they bring us referrals all the time and stuff, and I like they sell them one thing, and I was like, do you understand that these people, if they're that loyal, and they really love what you do, and they love your customer service, almost anything you set in front of them, if they need it, they're going to get it because you've already got that, their eye, their heart, their trust. Why aren't we looking at something else that fits there? Well, I know how to make the Gidget widget, right? I know how to make X. I don't know how to make anything like that. And so I think that's one of the biggest things I think that can straighten out some of these cash flow issues and stuff like that is like, who do you have in your customer base that are just love you so much that if you painted a banana pink and told them it was yours, they would buy it, right? It has to be awesome. You created it. And almost every company, if they're not out there really messing up, has at least some of their customer base that are just that loyal and that, into them.
I agree.
Cool, man. We're running out of time here, and we're gonna have to cut this off. I absolutely love this. I love catching things. I watched a lot of stuff where you're on the stage. I'm on your newsletter and stuff. If you guys are out there, hunt him down. Get on his newsletter. It's just packed full of stuff. His site, you put out a lot of content. You're a man after my own heart. I'm a real big believer. The reason I do this podcast and everything else, lead with value, right? When I get off of every phone call, I actually do a self-evaluation. Did I add value to that guy's life, or did I waste their freaking time? Right? Did we just exchange, exhausted air, bad smelling breath, and then not get anything done? And it impacts me if I can't think of like how I added value to others. And I really see that in you. So I want to acknowledge you for that and appreciate what you're doing for the communities of business owners and stuff out there. And people really need to catch on to what you're up to. A lot of people have heard of the J. Conrad Livingstons and the Jay Abrahams and that stuff of the world. But I mean, you're out there, and start speaking on the same stages as these guys, and have just really great info. So and I think you're a little bit of an unacknowledged warrior out there that I know you've been on a lot of shows and a lot of TV stuff, but I can't say it enough. Not too many times I get people on the show where I'm kind of the fanboy type of thing. Oh, I got Adam on the call, so I appreciate you having you here, man. And this was fun. I really enjoy this. I picked up some
Heck
stuff
yeah,
I'm
man.
going to try and use. My wife gets back here in a few minutes. I might talk her into seeing if I can't buy something, but she'll probably tell me no.
I appreciate it. And
I have two
likewise,
littles.
man, if I can help you with anything, just ping me, reach out. Okay.
All right, cool. Hang out for a second, and we're going to end the show. And that's it, guys. Thank you for being on the show, and we have a great day. Hey, it's your host, Ronald Skelton. I want to thank you personally for watching the show today and invite you to call our new hotline, 918-641-4150. That's 918-641-4150. Call us and tell us about our show, ask questions, suggested guests, or even tell me about a business you have for sale, and we'll reach back out to you. Again, that number is 918-641-4150. Call our hotline, leave us some information. Thank you. The Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind. The Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind combines the traditional peer-to-peer mastermind introduced first in Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich, with accountability partnering, where your peers help you ensure that you set goals, take actions, and get results. If you want to scale, blow past roadblocks, and achieve success faster than you might think is possible, I suggest you take a visit over to TIEPM.com. That's TIEPM.com and check out the Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind.